Well, we waited very patiently for a day that may hold out or may not hold out. It looks like we may be able to get some spraying done today. But you never know how the weather's going to hold out, so we're going to get a nice, real early start. So the first thing I wanted to do today, I wanted to take and this is the Color-Right paint that Vlad supplied for this project. I want to mix up a little test batch 50-50 with urethane thinner. And as soon as, well, it's just coming up over freezing now, I want to take the smallest part, I want to make some way of holding it, and I want to test it. And I want to make sure that we have a part here. I want to make sure we get a very close, even though this part needs to be repaired. Once I know that that color is pretty close, then we can move on to the next step. Now one thing, all of these paints, and they're metallic, they have pearl in them. This is a really, I can feel how much, if you can even see how much the pigment is all settled to the bottom. So we want to really be careful. Step one is to really stir the paint up really well. And this can contribute to not having a color match, because most of this, the pigment that's down here, the silver and the pearl that's in this blue, is down at the bottom. And if you don't stir it really well, we're getting there. But it really takes more stirring than you think it does. So once I've thoroughly stirred that, I've marked the jar where the midway point is. And this is just to make a test batch. 50-50 with urethane thinner is what they suggest to start with. And then we can clean out the spray gun and run that little test piece and see how close we are. Now there's a lot of reasons for doing a little test like this and for doing the smallest part first. Because number one, we don't really know what the weather conditions are. We know it's just above freezing now. There may or may not be a lot of humidity. But I want to know if I want to adjust the final air pressure, if I want to adjust the final mix. Sometimes putting a little extra paint in or a little extra thinner makes a big difference. And most of all, I want to get a color test. And they say right on the can, and I know from having painted the R1 parts, that this paint really was the best match, and we had tried several other different sources of paint. This was the best one. That really looks like it's going to be pretty close. They say put 2 coats on. I'll let this just sit for maybe 5 minutes. In this temperature, maybe 10 minutes. Who knows? Maybe it's a good thing to have a cup of coffee. And then go downstairs, see what that color match looks like. If we're close, we go right ahead and paint. But if not, and you never can tell till you put the clear on anyway. Now what I wanted to do, I just want to make sure it looks like this paint is certainly in the ballpark. And so I thought, what's going to happen, what a lot of people don't really understand, is the paint color is going to change. It's going to lighten some when we put the clear on. So what I'm actually trying to do here is estimate myself how much it's going to change. But I thought rather than just doing one part to do a test, I'll do the fender too. Now that's, and maybe even a seat, I'll see. And then what I want to do, before I do the big parts, I want to put the clear on, because I want this to match. This has to really match the tank that Vlad gets and this part that we will repair that and restore it and paint it. But it's got to match pretty close. Now I don't know. Yeah, at this point, you can tell if you're close, and I think we are. But you really can't tell, and it will change when we put the clear on, that's for sure. And it'll change if you put a lot of clear and buff it out. When it's all polished up, it even lightens it up just a little bit. So, you can tell we're pretty close here. I think we're going to be real close. So I'm going to take advantage of the fact it's still paintable out there. Get the fender and maybe the seat done in this session. Get clear on it. Make sure it's a perfect match, because then the other 2 parts are a big commitment. So I'll do this in 2 pieces. And that's why I always start with the smallest part. Because if we didn't have a good match now, obviously we want to punt the football. Tack ragging these guys down just before the final part. I'm thinking, well, it's not really a sunny day out there. That's another thing. As I'm painting outside, you really can, you always can see the little stuff that comes off. You really can't tell. Some paints, the metallics get lighter in the sun, darker. The reds change whether it's fluorescent light or sunlight. But I think we're pretty close here. Hey, maybe the sun is going to come out here. Who knows? And of course, the wind is coming up. So, and as early as I did get up this morning, maybe I got to get up before sunrise. I don't know. With these parts, it's always good to do this test before you do the big parts. Just common sense. I don't want to put $200 worth of paint on those big parts and then find out it really didn't match as well as I thought it did. Now, it's a very thin paint, of course, because it's got a lot of metallic and pearl and everything in it. So what happens is you're definitely not going to do this in one coat. It's got to be done 2 coats. Whoa, balance that around, baby, don't drop it. And I'll see if I can set that tripod up to do the seat. And if I was in question about the color match, I would ask Vlad to come over and check it out and okay it. But until you get the clear on, you really don't know how close it's going to be. And then, of course, how close it's going to be is in the eye of the beholder. Now, the point I'm trying to make here is, when you're doing these parts, you can't really paint them in one shot. It's really got to be, you got to let this sit 10, 15 minutes. Which will do. Put the second coat on. You really have to be patient at this point. But now let's hope the sun comes out. That'll make it a little easier. Now I got the 2 coats on. I want to see how this is drying up. And it looks like it's drying up just fine. Again, I'll do the seat. I'll get some clear on this. And I'll be able to make an educated decision as to how, once that clear is on, and if I'm in doubt, I'll just have Vlad come over and double check it before we do the big parts. But I think we're pretty close. And it really did spray out nice. That color right is really some nice paint. Now, it's a funny story. It's not really funny. When I did the parts on this, and I've painted the seat, I modified the seat, painted the pillion, painted the side covers, painted the lower fairing, and I wanted it to match, of course. But the only part I didn't paint was this part of the tank and the front part of the fairing. But I wanted it to match, and what happened then, it's a true story. I had 2 body shops locally, each mixed me a batch of paint. I brought them apart. They guaranteed it would match. It was close but no cigar. It was a little too purpley, one was a little too silvery. And so what I finally did, I just bit the bullet, got the color right paint, and everything from that point on was perfect. So, and I know Luciano has gone nuts with the reds and the yellows, the Ducati colors. They just do make you crazy. And this is another thing, like the Kawasaki green. This is Camaro GM paint. One of the reasons I wanted to have Camaro GM paint, because I know I could always get this in the future. It would match. And plus, I like the color. So, we've learned a lot. We're learning more each time we do one of these jobs. And we're certainly at the end of this going to learn something from Vlad's, this Suzuki. Now, this will definitely be a little challenging because I tried to mount this up on a tripod. And it just was no realistic way to do it. It's kind of an awkward part. So I guess what I'll try to do is paint the whole top first. There's no real way. See, this is the kind of thing you run into all the time. I guess I could do that. And we are getting a little bit of sun. Wow. What a lucky day. Until you actually paint a lot of parts, you don't realize how big of a job it is just to figure out how to hold the part. That's what's always an issue. Have to do this. I can see this is going to be a little bit of a challenge here. Let's see. Kind of stuff you got to improvise. Have to leave since the seat goes over this, it won't really matter. We'll save that part for last. Actually, what I probably should have done is make some kind of little, maybe I will make it, some kind of little bolt-on jig to hold this. I'll probably have to do that before I put the clear on, because I do need to get the clear on in one shot. Now what's going to happen? This is not going to want to balance the way I want. Now so far the wind is at a minimum, so I guess I can count my blessings here. A little more sun would be nice. And if it was about 70 degrees warmer, it would be nice. But one thing for sure, the paint will dry in this temperature. It'll just take a little longer. Okay, with 2 parts on everything should be dry. Looks like it's drying up real nice, in fact. What I'm going to do is go mix up a batch clear. That's going to be the test to see if we got a very, very accurate match, or how close it is. You never can tell, absolutely never can tell till the clear is on, and until you look at it under various light conditions like sunlight, fluorescent light, whatever. Anyway, that does look close. I'm going to have a cup of coffee and go mix up some clear. Now, I just want to mention this is the clear we've been using with some pretty good results in the last couple of years. And it's a 4-to-1 clear. I try to put that information on all the videos. It's totally compatible with Color-Right. And in this cold weather, the only downside is it does take a little bit longer to cure out. But the good news is in this kind of weather, there are no mosquitoes and bugs like there are in the summer. So you win on one end, you lose on the other end. I had to mix this up, and we're pretty much ready to shoot some clear. I mentioned all the guns I use are Harbor Freight guns, and they're really inexpensive. These are about $9 with the coupon. And what I did with this job here, I wanted to have a brand new spray gun, because there's quite a bit, the fairing and everything. So what happens with these guns, they last a year or two, and then I just use them. What I do is I use them for, leave one color in each gun. I have black in one gun, white, because I'm always using little amounts of paint, and the money I save by not having to clean the gun, I can just buy new guns. And today's the day we get to use a new gun. Some great technology there. Now this color is going to change when I put the clear on. Always nice when using a brand new gun too. Well, I wish we had just a little more sun, just like a candle and stuff. Now that should give us a good representation of what this color is going to look like. We'll get 2 coats on about 20 minutes apart. I got balance on it. Alright, so we'll get 2 coats on everything about 20 minutes apart, and that's probably going to do it for tonight. Because it's the best time of the day, I got to get ready very soon to go get the baby. The best part of every day. Yeah, it's going to come out nice. So what this looks like is we're about in the midway part of this job. And next time we get to do a session, and that can change with the weather. Next time we get to do a session on this, we'll try to do the 2 big parts. And wow, as far as going for a ride, dream on, and not happening. But we will get some of this work done in the next couple of days. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching. What are you doing on top of Vlad's box? This is terrible. What are you doing? Miles, what are you doing here? You're not showing the proper respect for Vlad's parts.
That's not his.
Whoa!
That is not.
What are you making, robots today? Show me some of those robots. Which one is that one? Luciano? Or is that Turbo Steve? This looks like Turbo Steve here. Oh yeah, that's Turbo Steve. Let's see. Who's this one?
Don't look at all.
Oh! Today we're making robots. There's parts to be made, parts to be painted, but we're making robots.